Well, it took me like, probably about 2 hours just to feel okay, and I'm still not okay, but just to feel like I could even function. Like, am I dying? What the fuck's going on? So I went to this little place to get a breakfast sandwich, and I couldn't even drink coffee. I drank Sprite because my stomach was just like, and and then having all these, they're coming in, then having all these all these timelines clearing and I guess you would say identities dying, and it's not painful to me. It's not painful emotionally. It's not painful mentally. I'm just physically, my body just getting the total shit ripped out of me.
Same here, mate. Same here. Can you do me a favor and tag me my?
Yeah, yeah, I'll tag
So,
you.
thanks very much.
And
Yeah, I'm going through the same.
are
And this
you?
is what the
Yeah,
yeah. See, the pain doesn't go away, but the suffering does.
yeah.
And I think that that's what this is all about. Is to me, I was told a long time ago that pain is the touchstone of recovery. So that means, right, when you get pain, it means that there's some obstruction there. There's a lesson to be learned. We sit back, like we talked the other day. Are you with me?
Yeah.
While you're down there. No, no, that's an old joke.
Well, now wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
So the pain is saying there's a blockage, but I mean, I just want to make sure I got. So like, this is what it feels like to me. Like I don't know. Okay, I'll put it this way. So I know that there's something there, right? I know, but I know it's collective purging, and everybody's going through it sooner or later, whatever. But it's still very personal. But I'm not having these emotional things. I'm not having these mental things.
Just bear with me one sec, because I've got this new phone, and it's jolly good, but I don't know how to turn the damn thing off.
But
it's still very personal. Shut up. There we are.
there
That
you
looks
go.
good.
So I
Sorry
had
about that.
no, it's all right. So let me tell you, I was sitting there at breakfast trying to work something out, and I'm like, I think I'll just start writing. So I started writing, and I didn't want to post this because I don't want anyone to take it personal because it's not about anybody. It's not about anybody, and I don't even know if it's appropriate. But when I wrote it, I said, "This is it," right? And it's entitled "Update from the Apocalyptic Fringe." Okay?
Yeah.
Lots of stuff purging. It's mostly physical, but I find myself having less patience for games, agendas, and fluffy bullshit. A near zero tolerance for projection, spiritual bypassing, blaming, shaming, and all other externalizing aimed at shifting the focus on anything other than what it should be, on ourselves. I'm tired. Many are tired. This is no longer a fight. There's no one to fight. And if we are in a battle, it's by our own choice. It's by our own making. Grow the fuck up and let that shit go. Traumas experienced were the last excuse, and those excuses are long fucking gone now. So that's how we start.
That sounds okay to me. So, a few of the phrases that I've learned over time. If you don't want to fight, don't get into the boxing ring. Right. So it takes two to tango, you see. And this is what
Absolutely.
we talk.
That's
And this
right.
is, we learned this the other day, didn't we? Or we got this the other day, that the central tenet of all alternative medicine is based upon the free flow of unconditional energy called chi, ki, prana, spirit, life force, elan vital, all the different names for this flowing energy. And it's thought the central tenet is that any pain at all, is an obstruction to the free flow of this energy.
Yeah.
So when we don't feel anything, but we can feel a flow, then we could said to be free then. We're free. But what tends to happen is, as we go along, and this is just my view, the way I see things, as Dr. Joe sees it, could be nonsense, but, I don't think that it is. I'm just talking about my experience. And I only ever feel, Todd, that I'm only just scratching the surface of what's actually possible for the human being.
Yeah.
So to go back to any pain now, I'm almost like trained to got pain, step back, breathe in, drop my shoulders, sink deep, and ask my heart of hearts, give us a clue. What's that about then? Right. And then generally I get an answer, and it's not the answer that my head thought it was. It's something completely different. And I feel that we're all being sort of moved now to let go of all this stuff. We're letting go of all the throat tension, because that's the organ of repression and suppression. That's the thing that keeps us down and allows our head to go up and be politically correct. Like when you see somebody and you go, oh, it's awfully lovely to see you, right? But underneath it's like, I'll stab you. Remember what you did to me in the past. You see what I mean? So we've got this conflict, you see, between this pretentious, conditioned, politically correct self and the real feelings that are going on below the surface. Now, there's conscious, there's unconscious or subconscious. I feel that the deeper we go, we actually break through the subconscious into super consciousness. And I think that super consciousness is related to the sacral chakra, which is really the seat, in my view, of creative energy. From a physical point of view, it will be creative in creating new children for the survival of the species. But once we evolve and go past that point, that sacred sexual energy becomes pure creative energy. And if we can get it past our navel and allow it to transcend up the spine, eventually all those chakras that are in line are rebalanced as we climb Jacob's ladder, and eventually we're on the stairway to heaven, and sooner or later we're knocking on the doors of heaven to say, let me in, that was good, that, what do you want to do next time? Over to you, Todd.
Oh. Well, okay.
Let me do this next bit then.
Go ahead.
While I'm in the flow. So what I've learned is that when we grow, and we talked about this the other night, the development of the first two chakras, because we likened it to narcissism. Okay, when we're first born, the first chakra comes on, the root chakra, associated with physical security. And so that's associated with the adrenal glands. Okay, and then we have this evolutionary impulse, an ascension impulse, if you like, that moves us up then as we grow a bit older, and we start to get feelings of a sexual nature. That's because those powerful hormones, right, are now online. Okay, as they should be. They're natural things. So the first part, the child is messing around and getting some sense of physical security. If that's not fully formed, right, they become physically insecure. So from a psychological standpoint, as the mind is developing, they move into the next one, and they're already sort of powerless, right, when they come to the sex. So if they're brought up like I was, in a very strict Irish Roman Catholic background, the whole sex thing and the feelings associated with it are evil. You're going to hell. If you touch that and have those feelings, you're going to hell. So from that point, we use our throat to push down the energy that's trying to emerge and express itself. We start to sideline it, really, and it becomes misdirected instinct. Now, I'm on one tonight, so just let me do this. What I found out is a human develops, right, if left to its own devices, it would move through instinct, and the first two instincts don't need anybody else, right? You can have sexual feelings without anybody else, right? Okay, right, generally speaking. And then we left off the other night, though, in the bifurcation then. That's when we split then, and we come into, from the reptilian brain, we then move up into the mammalian brain then. So we come into a social environment. We do need this next instinct because it depends on our interaction with people. Now, people who are already suppressed and repressed in the first two chakras, right, already feel insecure in the environment of others. And that's why lots and lots of people have got social anxiety, and they go into society, into groups of people, and they hide away in the corner, hoping that nobody, right, will come and talk to them. So they wave like that, and they put a smile on as if to say, oh, look, I'm very content here, watching everybody, but keep away from me because I don't know what to say. I'm very awkward in company, blah, blah, blah. However, the lady with the tray of sherry comes around, at the Christmas party, and she says, would you like one of these sherries? Right, so have a little sherry. Suddenly, which is disinhibitory, alcohol, disinhibitory, suddenly it's out. Right, I feel great now. All that stuff that's being repressed, I want to get out, I want to party, and I want to grab anything that I can and have my way with them. That's because of this disinhibitory nature, right, of alcohol. It temporarily releases us so that we can act like normal. However, the first release is so over the top because it's like an atomic bomb going off, because our previous disposition is to suppress and repress ourselves because we've got no self-confidence and no self-esteem. Hang on, I need to breathe. So in this gap, you can speak now if you desire.
When we make music over here, I've learned they call it pockets. You have a pocket. That's a lot, man. That's a lot of information. It would take me 5 hours to even seriously. Well, because to me, look, I'm purging the last 2 days. I purged my ass off last night. Okay, right until an hour ago, I had to push the show back. I'm trying to look at everything energetically. I did my little rant or whatever, this little write-up thing. I did this for myself. I feel like this is where I want to be. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it with myself. I won't accept it. And I'm not going to accept it with anyone else. That's not a boundary and that's not a wall. That's just a sandbox that I'm not going to play in. Okay? And here's my thing. I'm sick and fucking tired of all the theories, all the fucking, and I know you're a doctor and I totally respect that. And this is not a slam. This is the new territory. And what is the new territory? It's called no fucking bullshit. None. If you fucking bullshit, I'm going to call it out and you call it out on me. I mean, this is bullshit. We're fucking gods and goddesses and we're going to act like little children. We're going to project and deflect, okay, and shame and blame and guilt trip. And you know what? It's enough. It's enough. It's okay if you're still dealing with trauma. We're all doing it to different degrees. But it's not fucking okay anymore to sit on the pity pot and to enable that behavior in ourselves or each other. Okay? Now, what does that mean? What changes? If we're going to call it out, we're going to be direct, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Then here's what I see as being the problem. The problem is we don't want to admit our shit stinks. We don't want to admit that we did this or that in my marriage I did that. We have these stories that we've been telling where we're the victim and we're the pure one and the pious one. Fuck that shit. I'm tired of it. I don't care if people get pissed off. I'm sick and tired of it. I cannot. I'll lose my stomach. I'll lose my stomach on this show. In these words I wrote this morning, I said, I might walk away. It's not victim consciousness. It's because I don't want to play these fucking games. I don't want to deal with agendas and ulterior motives. I want to have straight conversations. I want to know what hurts you, what makes you happy, what makes you joyful, what do you love to do, what have you been through. This is what our teacher is. Our teacher is our experience. And I think we can now take these masks off and not be afraid and understand that the only way we're going to build a field of consciousness that is supportive is to have faith in it and to step forward. And that's why it's so important for these people to step up now and tell their stories. It's so important. Fuck the clickbait. I'm tired of it. Fuck the conspiracy. Fuck the disclosure. Let's talk about the I am soul, which means I am a human being. I am a human being, and that's okay. And I hurt, and I cry, and I laugh, and I smoke, drink, fuck, burp, fart, shit, piss, the whole 9 yards. Okay? It's okay. It's okay that you're hurt. It's okay that you're not over this trauma yet. Because this is a field of unconditional love and pure intent, and we know we've done the work. So to me, this is the last bastion of the ego. Is that, Joe, how many times, this is true, how many times in the last 2 or 3 years have you sent me a message? Because we're telepathic and we're intuitive.
Yeah.
And you send me a message and you say, if you need to talk, I'm here.
Yeah.
And what do I say? Nothing. Okay? Now, is that right? Is that wrong? No. But I will say this. Why wouldn't I talk? I might have a good reason. But I think the dominant reason for all of us is because we're afraid of what people will think. Because we will show a weakness. You know? And this is where we need to go. And by God, as long as I'm doing this fucking show, I swear to God, I'm going to push that. I don't care about the big names, and I don't, you know, dude, I'm on the bones of my ass, and I could call David Icke, I could do a lot of things and bring name and rah, 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 boom, 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 right? And have a little flow, a little cash, a little, you know, a little whatever, cushion, whatever. But I'm not, that's not my concern. My concern is what we've all come together for, which is to grow. And like that's what I'm writing this morning. I'm like, we're gods and goddesses. Grow the fuck up, Todd. You know? Somebody asked me, are you okay? I said, no. Do you want to talk about it? I said, no, not yet. But that's the best I could do. But it's better than ignoring the message from you over the years or whatever. And these are just examples. So I obviously am going through a major purge. I don't think I'm the only one. And I got to tell you, I have loved these last 2 shows we've done because there's something different about it. And that tells me it's not just me and it's not just you. I think people, the more we do this, the more people will. And that's, to me, that's the medicine. Over to you, pal.
Thanks for that, Todd. I agree with you entirely, and I can see and feel more and more. And by the way, we're generally the last person to know, right? Because we have a thing in us, right, that wants to protect us. It's called saving face. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. It's the last bastion of the ego. Mm-hmm. But not until we see it ourselves, right, can it be dealt with, really. Yeah. And ego stands for edging God out, you know, God being the flow of spirit. And I think what's happening to us, and I agree with you, this great big shift in consciousness that's happened to everybody, it's a purging enemy. It can be an enemy. It's a purge that's happening underneath our unconscious, and it's driving it upwards. And the pain that we're going through is the resistance to get out of the way and to allow it to emerge. In Celtic tradition, what's actually happening, Todd, is called the fury. It's called the fury. But the fury really is still a misunderstanding because there's still an element of pointing the finger outwards. And from what we talked about, now this is just me, mate, it's no criticism at all, but it's what I've learned. If I even subtly start to point the finger outwards, right, I'm still looking for something to hook it on. So it's still a very subtle aspect of victim consciousness. You know, and I've been trained in the last 30 odd years to look out for the subtle, because in the sort of advert I put up about the subtle enemy that is the ego. So it's very, very subtle. And what we need to do is look out for its signs. And here are the signs: self-pity, anger, resentment, self-justification, right? Lying, cheating, envy. All those things are not of the divine. They're of a defensive ego, right? And that's how it's subtle. So what I was trying to say the other night is I've learned now to listen into my body's feelings, because any tug is some sort of where I've taken the bait at some level, right? And I need to look at it because it's not the divine. But Todd, I see this. It's almost like the soul programs the ego in the first half of our lives, right, to cope. And it's using the ego's intellect, not soul's intellect. It's using the ego's intellect to create coping strategies, but it's all based on fear and pride and defensiveness. Yeah. So we get to a point then where we can't close down anymore. We can't think our way out of situations. Our ducking and diving and lying and dodging and weaving doesn't work anymore. I think that every single human being on this planet has to get to that point. I liken it to crucifixion, where Christ is on the cross and he's supposed to have said, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, my God, why have you forsaken me? And then he lets go. And that to me is the jump. It's the quantum jump from the third dimension into the fourth dimension then. And that's the start of the spiritual journey. It's only the start, Todd, because from there then we have to then ascend or climb the next 3.5 chakras to get to the crown so we can pop out, loop round and do it all again. So let me just do this, right? I don't know whether it's making sense, but any feeling of disturbance at all, I'm not talking about feelings, because natural feelings flow. They're not obstructions, they're natural. Grief is natural, right? All these things, sadness and sorrow. I'm talking about self-centered feelings. And here's another thing I've learned as well. They're all associated with sentimentality. And sentimentality, sentire means to feel, and mentere means mental. So they're made up with the human mind. And that's why sometimes you can see somebody and you can say, oh, they look sad. Hang on, I better conjure up a feeling of sadness here. So we make those feelings up in order to fit in. That's where the lie comes in, Todd. Let me just do this bit and then I'll pass it over. This is what I've learned about the fully developed human being. Starts off at instinct, moves through and develops ego intellect, right? Then it moves up and jumps up then when it awakens into intuition. So it stops looking outwards and starts looking inwards. And then finally, as it comes to near ascension and, complete release, it works off inspiration. Yeah. And I think once you've got no plans on how to work it, you just turn up, right? You don't even have to think about what comes up next, because an idea comes in out of the blue and then you take the actions based upon that. Then you don't have to plan, you don't have to remember, you don't have to do to-do lists or anything like that. You just work with an open and flowing heart. There's no pain anymore. There's just inspirational living. Over to you, old chap.
Old.
Yeah.
Well. So, yeah, I really like that thing. You should write that up, that way you just said, how the whole evolution of the human. But and that's the way I see it. Like, I say, okay, well, so you're always adding frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration, and it's spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, collaborative, and courageous, or whatever one I left out, creative, whatever one I left out. But, the one I say all the time, because that's what you're describing. Because it is. It's like we are a channel. We know that. Everyone that comes on, they're channeling. Every conversation, they're channeling. If they're in a level of comfort and support and they're not self-conscious to the point where it paralyzes them, which is what we try to do here. But this is just a little microcosm. This can happen in any conversation, anything, any application to our life, right? So what I'm discovering, I've already known it. Okay, we've all known it. We've all understood the power of the spontaneous. Okay, but what's happening is there's huge validations coming in now. For me, it's through music. It's through, that's stepping through fear, right? It could be a lot of things for a lot of different people, but if you get the urge, do it, right? And it can be a lot of things, right? But look at all the people that have left their homes. Look at all the people that have changed their lives, They said, you're fucking crazy to go have a festival on Mulberry Mountain in the last week of August in Arkansas. You're crazy, that, but the ping came, and this is what got us here, and I fucking went for it, and I don't give a shit what anyone says, because everyone that was there had a massive experience. This is something beyond all of us, and again, it's just a microcosm, but it never happens if we sit on our ass, okay? And when we sit on our ass, what ends up happening? And we've all been there. We have personal regrets. We have personal prejudices for those people that are stepping into the arena who are not afraid to fail. And if they fail, as Teddy Roosevelt said, at least they fail while daring greatly. That's balls. That's a victory. That's illumination. You can illuminate when you fail. By human standards, by the human definition, you failed. You didn't win. But do you know that you can light this world up just as much as the greatest success by human definition that there is? Because you tried, I am not judged by the number of times I fail, but I am judged by the number of times I succeed, which is in direct proportion to the number of times I fucking try, okay? You cannot take that away from anybody. There's a lot of platforms I keep tabs on for my own wherewithal, so I can do the best I can. I don't like a lot of them, but I respect every one of them because they have the balls to get out there and do it. And I love it to see these people that are starting new shows, like my friend V, who came on last week, Julie Pershin. I don't see that as a threat. I see that actually as a victory, where someone has created a wave and other people are inspired, right? Just like I've been inspired. And then you go out there and guess what? You don't do the same exact thing. You add your own soul signature. And then it becomes another beautiful wake, right? So, yeah, back to you, man.
I agree, Todd. I agree with everything that you're saying. We have made, considering where we've come from, we've made marvellous steps, really. You know what, Todd? I'm virtually fearless now, mate. And I'm also virtually shocked and unshockable. I've heard that many people's stories, because that's what I do for a living. I listen to people's stories, and I say to them, if there's anything playing on your mind, get it off your chest. And I seem to be a person where they can open up and share wholeheartedly, right, truthfully and honestly. And I've heard, Todd, honestly, I've heard.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm sorry. No.
No, it's all right. Don't be sorry, mate. I couldn't give a shit. In fact, I don't care what anybody else thinks. The greatest gift I got through this process was I couldn't give two shits what anybody else thinks about me or what I'm doing. It's what I think about me that's become more important.
That's
right. And I'm not a bad person. I'm decent, But some people get onto me, Todd, and they want to moan and they want to shout and they want to tell me what you want to be doing is this. You need to put this into action. They've got no idea what I do behind the scenes, Todd. I'm knackered all the time. Right. I know that you've got a sense of that, If I'm not doing this, I'm doing something else, I'm not like a saint, but I have this thing that guides me. Right, and I have to say to it sometimes, give us a break, will you? I'm absolutely fucking exhausted here, right? But sometimes, Todd, if they want to come in and start gossiping and giving me negativity, sometimes I don't say to them, it's probably not a good idea to do that. I say, hang on a second, I'm not interested in any of that shit, right? And then they don't like it, you see. And as I said the other night, they either whimper, ooh, he said a bad thing to me. Or they go, I'm not having you talk like that, And I don't care, Todd, because what I'm trying to do as a sponsor or somebody that's a little bit further away along, right? I'm trying to highlight in them by giving them the principles first. If you're feeling disturbed, you're triggered, it's not me, it's something in you need to look at, you see. And that's the thing, Todd, because the greatest gift I ever got was my sponsor said to me, see if you point the finger, Joe, there's three fingers coming back at you. I, self, me. So you can take that pointing finger that's indicating, you can curl that in and you can start looking at where's it attached to me, because God's got no attachment. That's what it means. Detached with love, right? Because God is just pure flow. In fact, there's no polarity whatsoever in God. It's just a stillness, and there's no this or that. There's just silence. So I say to people, and they don't like it, Todd. They don't like it, And then I say to them, maybe you're not ready yet to hear the message. Who are you to talk to me like that? And I go, see, I told you.
No,
And they
that's
say,
funny as hell.
but Todd, and I say to them, and it makes me laugh because I think this is my job. I say to them, I'm not laughing with you, I'm laughing at you. And they don't like that either. Right? They go, wow.
Are you serious?
Honestly,
Oh my
I
God,
swear
that's
to you, I
hilarious.
do that because part of my role is I am Heyoka.
Yeah.
So are you.
Yeah.
I'm here to take the piss out of you to see just how much you can take. Because if you can't take a joke, right, don't joke, So if you can't take it, don't be throwing it out if you can't take it back. And that's the thing. And when fellas get together, Todd, on the building sites and all that, it's just repartee all day long, isn't it? It's just taking the piss out of each other all day long while you're working on the railroad. I've been working on the railroad. And they're all singing and Paul Newman's there and then Pappy on bouncing the ball and all this. So that's what I'm saying, Todd, is if you're feeling disturbed, it's something in you that needs looking at. And the other person is simply just something that's there to highlight it within you.
Right.
And how many times have we said this to other people? But, I do try and practice what I preach. Do I fail? Yeah. But do I give a shit? No. as long as I do something about it. Todd, let me do this. I feel that the soul, as it opens up, it draws to you the next daily scene with which you need to take action to move the scene along and step up the ladder. And that's how it seems to work, And as you get more courage and more flow, the scenes change that quickly. And you have to sort of go with the flow. And the other thing is, I know you are allowed to change your mind every single breath.
Of course.
If that's what you feel is correct.
Of course.
Because if you hang on to any established, there's a word, the establishment, any established pattern, then you're stuck, aren't you? That's stuckness there. Yeah. So it's always got to be dynamic and moving. God, I'm knackered here with all this. It's over to you now. And I'm not laughing at you with you, Todd. I'm laughing at you.
I'm laughing at Hung. That's why I laughed earlier. I didn't know she was here. God, I love Hung. It's just the whole condemnation, judgment. My focus is more. I mean, when I talk about these things or I look at these things, this morning. This was all my internal dialogue, which is where do you project? Where are you prejudiced and biased? Where are those rhythms in your life? Where are you looking at somebody and making an assumption, an insinuation? Shut your fucking mouth. Shut up. Shut up. And then you try to go through the day. And I have a weird situation because I'm on this talk show. And I love it because I can talk to people who are coming into their own as a human being. It's fucking phenomenal. It's just mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But at the same time, I'm having a conversation and I still have some things going on. Not majorly, but I'm a person just like everybody. I could be having a conversation with you. Nobody's watching. It's the same type of thing. And I like it too because it keeps me on my toes. But what I see is this whole... It's a different type of storytelling. It's a storytelling where people are really not even biased in their conveyance of the story. Like if I just look at the last 10 shows, people in the worst of times and transforming, taking a setback into a comeback, right? I mean, this is fascinating to me. Why are we talking? Why are we dealing with this other stuff now? We know the game now. We know the jig is up. We know it. We can spend our time going out there marching and protesting and boycotting and raising hell with this political party or this country or this army. And nothing's going to change. Nothing's ever changed. And we can sit here and damn it. But we're damning ourselves. So what do we learn? We've learned to shift everything to us. And I don't give a shit what anyone says. There are no exceptions. It's always me. That means everything that I experience and everything that I feel goes into me. I don't point the finger at anybody. That's fucking bullshit. From here forward, it is. And I guarantee you, by the end of this year, people are going to be laid out on the side of the road. This is it, man. This is the grind. This is the beautiful fire, and grow the fuck up. You know, who do you want to be? How can you even know who you want to be when you're always jumping in someone else's lane and occupying yourself with that? Who are you? What do you want? Who do you love? What do you love to do? Then fucking get jiggy with it, man. Okay? Because personally, it has nothing to do with being 60 years old. I ain't got time for it no more. I ain't got time for it. I may disappear like that. And I tell you what, if it happens, it'll be for the right reasons. Okay? I don't want to be involved in this crap. And I'm sorry to make it sound like it's all over the place, but we are the arrogant fucking bastards that call ourselves light workers and star fucking seeds. Who the fuck are you, man? You know? You're a human being. I don't care if you do light language or you can play a ukulele with your butt hairs. I don't care. Okay? We're all the same. We're all the same. And this is the part of us that we've hidden from each other. It's not just, you know, it's all the crap. It's all the traumas. Man, have you listened to these people in the last week? These people overcame traumas. Two ladies with fucking spinal injuries, with a man that stood by them with children in the house. Okay? Come on. And what? You want to tell me that, what, you got this going and you got that going and I do the same, whatever. We don't have to do this anymore. We don't. We can be buck naked to the soul. We can do this, and it can be done on a one-to-one basis. Every moment, every day, we have the opportunity. We can call this humility, integrity, honesty, nobility, dignity. But this is the human being. This is what the human being was meant to be. Okay? And my tolerance, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they take me off the planet today. Because I'm having this same conversation with my team. And I'm having it every day. What can I do? Okay? I'm not lost. Oh my God, we can't fix it. You know, society and the world is too far gone. I'm not of that thought process. I'm here. I want to see some reciprocation. I don't need anything. Give me a roof, give me some food, give me a vehicle, and give me a microphone. But where is the progress? Where is the hard evidence? And I keep being told the same thing over and over. It's all on you, pal. So no one's going to come and do it. You know, this is it. And like Joseph Campbell says, if you don't get it here, you won't get it anywhere. It's right now. So
the unexamined life is not worth living, Todd.
Yeah.
And I've just got this picture in my mind, because this is how my mind works, of you playing the ukulele with your butt hairs, right? And
I told you I'm off the fucking. I have no idea. Yeah, is there a little broccoli coming out of there? Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Absolutely. And I think you need to lay off those jalapenos, because it's causing discord.
I have no idea where that came from.
It's part of
I think I was.
See, I've got into string theory now. Now listen to me.
I think I was channeling you, bro.
Do you know, I'm sitting here watching you, and all I can feel is the power of release, Todd.
Yeah.
I can just feel
exactly
the power of release. And I think, you know, it's expressing itself in this way. It's very powerful. It's very honest. You've got no time to duck and dive. It's just all this shit is coming out. Yeah. And I would say to you, a suggestion is just keep it coming in some way. Keep it coming. Don't fire it at anybody. Just allow it to come out in some way, right?
Yeah.
And then from behind there, then a plateau of peacefulness will arise. right? Until the next wave of shit comes in, because it's happening in levels, So I see nothing wrong here. I see it happening all over the place, because out of chaos, Todd, as you well know, comes a level of order, right? And then we plateau on that. We get used to that one, and then when we're comfortable in that one, the higher power of love, and it'll go, okay, you've had enough time for rest. Here's the next scene. See how you get on with that. And in every time we learn, or the soul learns what it came down for, using us as experiencer for its own growth, Because I can see the human ego, to me, is the body-mind complex of Joseph Delaney. Right, and I accepted the challenge from the soul to say, go ahead then, jump in here, and you can do your bit, and I'll learn and you'll learn as we both work hand in hand through into the universe. That's how I see it. It's a collaboration between human and divine, and I think that's what's happening. The light body, car, Merkaba mechanics, master of Merkaba mechanics, all that stuff's happening, but the human has to eventually, like Jesus said, I give in. Show me what you can do, big boy. And I think that that's what's happening now. If we can keep surrendering the human desires, the human personality, because persona, it means mask, doesn't it? So we're not taking the masks off. They're being blown off us now, right? We don't need to save face anymore. All these masks are being kicked off us, the filters, the perceptual filters are being dropped off us now, so that we're actually spearheading this new sort of evolution into the next adventure. Christ, no idea what I'm talking about, Todd, but
You're doing great.
I feel all right about it, mate.
You're doing great. You're doing great, man. I mean, last year when I was here after the Soulogy Fest in June, I told this story a few times. I went to the market. I spent the night with Franco. Franco and Kimberly stayed at the condo I was at. And I went to the store the next day, and I walked back, and I got a download. And the download said that in a few months, and this would have been, this would have actually occurred this month last year when he passed. So they said that this is what's happening now. You're going to have, and they used Franco as the example. So they showed him like at a podium, and all of us watching him. And as he was expressing, that what you talked about when you described that evolution earlier, the inspiration, expression, all one motion, right? Inspiration, expression. And they were showing me that we were coming to a point where it would be reflected equally. Meaning that there was no judgment, and I saw that happen, this month last year when he passed. I saw it on the programs that we came together for with him. So, what I'm saying is that's how I feel right now. It maybe not with everybody, because I'm sure somebody's out there going, "Who the hell is this guy?" They may be saying about you, probably more about you than me, because I have more hair than you, for now. Because it's going fast. But here's the thing. You're right, okay? I've entered a space with you that I can be me with all my, with all the good and all the bad and the balance and the imbalance and really not even knowing what the fuck, okay? Just knowing I'm with a friend and I'm with my friends and I'm in a space where I can be myself. And then I start laughing my ass off, and my stomach starts hurting, and the tears, they are still tears, right? You cry, because you're upset or whatever, and you cry, and you're laughing. And I feel so much better, because you're right. It's what we can allow for each other. You don't want anything from me. You just want to shoot the shit. We're here for the same reason, to try to grow, right? And so that's what I'm seeing. Like, that's what I'm experiencing right now. That's how I feel. And I could be wrong, but I know I have it with you. And you don't have to, I don't have the expectation that I need evidence, or you know what I mean? It's just, I feel it. It is what it is. And I think that's the other thing that we're coming to, which is crazy. And this is probably when I exit, is my frequency, or whoever that person is that has released and elevated and expanded and is awaiting the next humdinger that's coming, their frequency speaks for itself. The truth speaks for itself. And so people are picking up on that more than ever. And yeah, and I just want to say too, look, I know I'm purging a lot. I know that, I'm doing my best not to suppress anything on a personal level, which is not an easy thing when you're public, okay? But make no mistake whatsoever, I am not coming down on the human race. I'm talking to Todd. Grow the fuck up, step into your power, and keep stepping. Because I believe that we have absolutely killed it. We've killed it. They never thought we would last this long. And man, we're headed for the most phenomenal coming out party, and that's not a joke. And so I think we can actually relish in those frequencies now. We may not be able to sustain it forever, but when we start looking at the evolution and the story of the human hybrid soul, and you look just at the last 6,000 years, we have killed it. We're still here, and I'm proud of it. And so I don't want anyone to ever think, because it's not true. I mean, I'm the biggest cheerleader that I have for myself and for my brothers and sisters. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the universe. I would not want to be a star. I would not want to be anything. I want to be right here. I wouldn't miss this for the world, And I really don't think anyone's ever going to figure it out. But I don't think that we need to. I think that this type of thing that you're talking about, these direct conversations, these telling the stories from the heart, not to sell anything and prove anything, just this is my life. I think that that's the great equalizer, because it teaches us that everybody's the same. And sometimes you hear a story and you go, wow, he did it, or it happened to him, So, yeah.
I think it's marvelous, and I like the expression, and this is what drink did for me. It gave me the ability to act extemporaneously. And that means that I wasn't working from a script. I was just being myself, whoever that was at the time. So the alcohol and the drugs and everything else, it just temporarily relieved me of myself and my self sort of compression, right? And I think now what we've got to do is work towards that naturally. And the way you do that is you find people who you feel comfortable with, who you can share with. And I think that this was the idea of the old Roman Catholic Church, where you would go to confessional and you would honestly say, Father, I've done this, I was thinking that, I've done all these things. And you honestly and openly expressed everything that you were ashamed of, felt guilty about and all that, right? And what was supposed to happen then? The priest would say, thank you for sharing all that. Now go off and try and do better next time. That was the end of it then. However, some smart arse, maybe based in Rome, said, oh, well, if they say that, punish them, give them 10 Hail Marys, 5 Our Fathers, and then tell them that they're sinners and they shouldn't do it again. That's why people stopped going to confession or started to tell lies. Todd, when I was a young lad, I would go along to the priest and I'd say, and I was thinking these bad thoughts about my mother, and I've stolen a sweep from my brother and all this sort of stuff. And all he did was he started shouting at me, calling me an evil little sod and all this. This was the priest. So, the next time I went, I just started to tell lies, Todd. And that was almost like this. People tell lies, Todd, because they don't want to be found out. Not because of what they've done, but they're ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, is because we start off with, right, a clean sheet. And then we get all this social conditioning to say, you're not good enough as you are. You need to change because there's so many things that are wrong with you. Here is what you need to do in order to be a success in life. Yeah. That's where it goes wrong, Todd. Probably on the day we're born and even before. you know. And I look into an area called epigenetics now and all that sort of business. And believe it or not, what your mother ate when she was carrying you will have an impact upon the way that you behave in later life. There's all these things now, you know.
Really?
So your mother, yeah. Well, no, Todd, honestly, because the baby shares the mother's blood,
True.
right?
Yeah.
They're basically sharing the whole thing. So your mother's mood now. My mother was terrified. I'm going to tell the truth here because my mum, right? I think my mum and dad had to get married before me because they got together a bit before they were married, and it was Irish Roman Catholic and all that sort of thing. And my mum got pregnant. Anyway, my brother Terence died at 2 days old, right? So she lost my brother Terence. He was before me, right? And then I was the get on the horse and do it again, you know. So apparently, when my mum was carrying me, and I've had deep, long conversations with my mum about this, you know, everything's fine about it. She said, son, I was terrified throughout the whole birth and the whole pregnancy process. I was terrified. And I've done lots and lots of study to suggest that hormones in the mother will obviously impact upon the developing embryo and the fetus, which will start to impact upon the way their genes express themselves. So that happens, you know. And Todd, let me do this next bit. This is what I keep getting in my mind all the time. I've got no idea where it's coming from, but this is what I get is, Joe, most astrologers on the planet have got it wrong because it's not the time of birth that's important. It's the time of conception. Because at the time of conception, when the spark hits the egg and starts the process off, it's like a snapshot of the universe at that time. That's who you are. That's what you're constructed. And I thought, well, that makes more sense to me. It makes more sense. And at that point then, the way that the stars are aligned, what happens is they all envelop then, and that becomes the map of the human body that represents that individual child, right? So that's the snapshot. Right, and contained in all that are all the influences that create you when you're born. Todd, I keep getting all this stuff. I don't really fully understand it yet because I haven't got time.
That's an interesting one there. And my buddy over here, he's a very, I'm not that experienced, but probably the most accomplished astrologer by far that I know. Like he spit that out all day long, every day. But what you said, you know, whatever that snapshot is at that moment, that's you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like even going, well, are the stars even involved? I don't know.
I thought that.
Like I mean, do we know? Like, how do we not know that that's not the basis of our programming? Who's to say that whoever's programming mainstream media isn't the same one programming the fucking sky that we're looking at? Okay? See, I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning God. I've done it my whole life, you know, and I've done it out of reverence and honor and respect for myself and that which I was created from. But I think what you bring up is a very not because see, here's the thing, not to get caught up in is it real or is it not real? Are the stars an overlay? You know, is it the simulation? You know, not to get caught up in to prove it one way or the other. That's not the point. The point is to take everything off the table. Everything. Until it's just you. That's all you need. That's all you got. And that's all you're ever going to have. And you know, this whole thing about we're one and, you know, that whole thing, that even becomes a deterrent from ourselves. Okay? What I mean is, we can talk theory, we can talk this and that and this and that and all that stuff. But how many times during the day have you broke bread with somebody? How many times during the day have you stopped for a moment and said, hey, how are you? You know? All these prejudices and these biases and these schedules and these jobs and these roles keep us from this. You know, we talk about we're missing it. It's us. We're the dog chasing itself. But guess what? We do that for ourselves. We do it with the people that we're near, and we can do this online too. Obviously, like this. But all I'm trying to say is that you know, take it all away. take it all away, because anything else is you're missing to that degree. Focus on yourself. And man, I have a feeling that when this thing blows up, and I mean blows up as in all the intelligence comes in, and we know the story of the earth, and there's no more debates and arguments and all that stuff, and nobody has to go jump on a pedestal and a platform and prove who they are, or try to convince people who they are. All that stuff goes away, and I think that's what's going away. All these stories, all the illusion. But when this thing pops, I cannot, for the life of me, believe for 1 second that we're not going to reap what we've sown in a huge, powerful, positive, beautiful, new way. And I don't think we have to wait. I'm not waiting. That's why I may just exit. Because if you know what, you can go, everyone's heaven is different, right? Like everyone's idea of, well, this is how I would like it. If I had $1 million or I had 6 months to live, what would I do? It could be living on a mountain, in a cabin, with someone you love, having a garden, snow skiing in the winter, swimming in the lake in the summer, and turning off the internet. Yeah. We can do it right now. But what's the answer for that? I don't know. Everyone's different. But I believe that when we manifest and anchor through our creations, which which typically is with other people, where two or more gather. That's just what the Bible says, right? That's what they all say. It only makes sense. So think about that. We can create our way out of this mess, if you want to put it that way. We can create our way from this point. But to stay in these old patterns, I believe, is becoming almost unforgivable. To validate gossip, to validate projection, to validate shaming and blaming, to point out who's this person, who's that person. I think it's becoming unforgivable, and I know that's a harsh word, but what I mean by unforgivable is there's no fucking excuse, because you're not serving yourself, you're not serving those people. This is a quantum environment. We are quantum creators through the power of our thoughts. So don't think for 1 second, if you think that woman over there is a bitch, okay, that you're not sending warm, fluffy love and light to her. You're throwing that out into the field, pal, and that's our field. So man up, woman up, whatever the case is, grab your balls, grab your ovaries, and let's go to work. But I think it's becoming almost to the point of unforgivable, where we sit here and on the pity pot and we throw darts at people, and we're all guilty of it, and we can stop it right now. And we can get through this by creating new rhythms and new motions that are based on having a moment with somebody, being real with somebody, friend, stranger, phone call to someone you haven't talked to in years. And I'm guilty. I ain't talked to my mother in 8 years. I ain't talked to my dad in 3. I ain't talked to my daughter in 4. I'm not one to be talking. I'm just saying, I'm not talking to everybody. I'm talking to me. Does that mean I'm going to jump on the phone as soon as I get off this show? I'll have to think about it. But I've put it out there now. So It's probably going to happen at some point. Some of them will say, I love you, it's nice to hear you, and some might hang up on me. But the fact is, like you said the other day, when I told you what happened to me, and I did exactly what I had told you and what you had recommended. And I did it. And that was it. I don't even know what the response was. The response was warm. But I just alt control delete.
I think, Todd, that's going to happen to people naturally now, that their minds will change and start to see forgiveness. To me, when you forgive somebody, it's not for their benefit ever, it's for your benefit. Right. It's you that's taking the hook out of you and letting them go then, right? Yeah. It doesn't really matter at all what their response is, because the whole purpose, as I was talking to you the other night about making direct amends, is it's not for their benefit. It really doesn't matter what they think of you afterwards. It's your sort of action to the universe to say, look, I'm willing to go to any lengths here to be free of this, right? So forgiveness means you taking the hook out of you and letting it go then. And then that's how you forget. Because until you forgive in what I'm talking about, you can't forget. And that's what a resentment is. It keeps, every time you see somebody that looks like the person, so there's a similar pattern match. Soon as you see that pattern match, head goes off, negative thoughts come in, right? And so this is never about the other person, as you say many times. It's never about the other person. It's us taking an action for our benefit. And in that, other people benefit secondarily, right? Because we become nicer to live with, we become more open, we allow the energy of the universe to flow more freely through us. It's an attractive force. It helps everybody clean their own act up. And people say, fucking hell, he hasn't half changed him, right? You know, and then they say to you, how have you done that? And you come on a show like this and you say, well, this is what I did, right? Yeah. This bit worked for me, this bit didn't. However, that bit might work for you and that bit mightn't, you see. So all I'm doing is I'm sharing my experience honestly about what happened to me. I'm telling you what's happening to me now, right? And I'm telling you about my hope for the future. That's all I'm doing. It's not a discussion group. It's not my theories against your theories. I'm just opening my heart up, pouring it out. Now, if anybody's listening to this and they're getting in the grip, in the gut, right? No, seriously, Todd.
I know. You're on it.
Yeah. So if they get a grip in the gut, right, maybe I'm swearing too much. They don't like that. So what they'll try and do to me is they might send a message in, Joe, you need to stop swearing so much. And I'd say to them, fuck off, right? Because I would, right? I'd say, no. Don't you realise what you've just done is you've just judged me. So the problem is you don't like swearing. So you're trying to get me to change my behaviour so that you can feel better about it. And this is the only thing I can say to you. Up yours. So they're a victim. They're a victim of a phrase or a word. And that's the way the world operates, Todd, isn't it? Look at the N-word, for example, and the USA, the N-word. It's a little word, and it literally causes murder. Yeah. And that's because people hear it, they take the bait, they get angry, and they use that as a justified reason to go out and cause mayhem. And that's because their ego's taken the bait. They've been programmed by political parties to say, you don't want to let them talk to you like this, right? And then off they go now. And that's only one, isn't it? One single little word causes all that trouble. And what the media does, isn't it, and political parties do, is they hype that all up and say, if they say that to you again, you want to form groups. And Todd, it's just a bleeding word, for God's sake. And that's what victim consciousness is. And unfortunately, victims are easily led, they're easily manipulated, and they're basically just like cannon fodder. I have no idea what all that was about, but I do know what you...
Well, Vicky Kendrick liked it very much.
Good.
I would put up... Well, I guess I'll put it up anyway. Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah.
I think she's your cousin. She must be your cousin. Joe, I obviously woke up a few hours ago. I had a fitful night, and second night in a row. And, I really appreciate you coming on for me personally and for everybody. You've helped me a lot today, and it's been good. This is what I'm talking about. Like, to be able to speak to somebody, and I'm not even close, believe me. But to be able to speak to somebody about the best of the best, the worst of the worst, whatever your fears are, whatever your pains are, whatever you can't get over, whatever you've gotten over, whatever it is, where you're not going to be ridiculed, you're not going to be embarrassed, you're going to be supported. And here's the great thing. You're actually blazing a trail. Because this is what we're missing. Being real, I don't even like the word authentic. It's just being real, being raw, and so all that vulnerability and all the transparency that you can muster up, and the verbalization and the sharing of your story is actually blazing trails for people. So we're going to keep supporting that here, and Joe's going to be part of it, I hope, once a month or so. going to keep on plugging away. But if I ever decide to leave, I will promise you we'll do one last show together.
Okay. Well, you said plugging away, but I've got again plucking away, and then I got the hair and the ukulele. So I'm gonna. That's gonna cause me a lot of trouble. That.
We could really get into this one. Well, you know, you have to understand that when you create that type of bow, you have to have a very strong course.
Todd, let's leave it there, shall we?
How do we get into this? I don't even know how I said it. It's because I'm with you. I'm going to be with anyone else in the world. I would never come up with that. I can't believe that
must be one of them faulty programs, like Tourette's. Right.
I had no idea where that came from. All right, bro. I love you.
God bless you, mate. Love you.
Thank you.
Ta-ra.
I'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.
We'll be